So Tom, you have a fine gate here. What width is it? And
It's a 28-foot gate, Bertie. It's, I suppose, got a decent hinge on one point, and a big arc from the top hinge down to the centre of the gate. I suppose to support most of the weight. It's quite a heavy gate. We reckon it's probably 1.5 tons, maybe. At the bottom of the gate, there's a neat little system where the bottom plate here has a dimple in it, right in the centre where the heel meets it. That's a dimple down, and in the heel there's a little dimple up, and the whole gate sits on a steel ball bearing. So there's no real wear at any point in the heel. We also have a grease nipple there. So I suppose we should be looking at it in 30 or 40 years' time, still doing the same thing that it's doing today, you know.
Very good.
So.
And what's the advantage of the weight? It's 28 feet wide.
Sure, I suppose it just gives great scope for cows coming in.
Yes.
So if the majority of the herd kind of coming in one group, it's a decent opening.
Right.
So rather than having two gates, we wanted to go with one decent size opening with one gate, and I suppose this gate meets all the requirements. I suppose because of the length of the gate, like a lighter gate would, especially with a yard full of cows, could tend to buckle or bend.
Yeah.
And we're convinced that if we start milking elephants, that they won't do any damage to that gate, you know.
Yeah, and I see you have a support beam up here, which allows you, I suppose, create the width.
Yeah.
That was all.
Yeah, so it kind of lets us span that opening. It was all about just giving ourselves a decent entrance into the yard.
Yeah, very good. So it's quite a decent gate. I don't think I've seen anything as strong. It's a massive gate.
Yeah, and even when it came to putting in the gate, I suppose our builder would have drilled into the concrete up here on the leg of the shed first, so that when the gate was hung off it with that weight of the gate, that it wouldn't buckle out the leg of the shed, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So it was all about kind of being conscious of the weight that we were dealing with.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you'd push it open or close with one finger. It's that well balanced.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
It's a really amazing gate. So your collecting yard, how many cows will fit in it?
340.
Right.
Maybe 360 at a push.
Yeah.
So the scraper on the back is, I think it's just over 12.5 meters wide. And look, it's a massive improvement for us, I suppose. One of the reasons we came into this job was because collecting yard space was very poor, along with an inefficient parlour. But it's like a dream to have a collecting yard that all of a sudden all of your cows can fit in.
Yes. So for, say, cleaning your collecting yard, is it all done with the scraper, or are you using a hose, or?
Yeah, we use a hose, and we have a water jet system up the top of the yard.
Right.
So I'll show you that in a minute. We were kind of conscious, I suppose, of the amount of water we were going to use. And we are using a lot more water than we would have in the old parlour. So what we're doing is all of the washdown water up on, we'll say, the front of the parlour, where the cows, between the platform and our own standing, all that water is going down through channels and into a tank. It's the old tank at the back of the old parlour.
Right.
And we've used a macerator submersible pump in that.
Right.
To pump back up through a 63 mil manifold, and it pumps back out onto the top of the collecting yard.
Okay, very good.
Which tends to keep the yard kind of, I suppose, damp the whole time and a bit cleaner up the top anyway.
So I'm looking at a very impressive AI race here with a lot of steel. It's built for strength.
Yeah, so our builder, I suppose, calls it the elephant's trunk. So it's coming out off of the centre line of legs and drops down, and it gives us a neck rail. I suppose to start with, again, on the exit race, the cows are walking out through it every day. So I suppose to start with, we were conscious of the water we'd use and cleaning it. So that's why for two reasons, we went with a wall here to give us strength rather than a rail.
Yeah.
And the other thing it does is it stops a cow dipping down her head and putting it out through a rail. So it always keeps the heads up.
Right.
But it gives us something solid to wash against when we're washing the exit race.
Okay.
And again, that's why we went with a 12-inch curb on the other side. It's to give ourselves a bit of a barrier there to stop water going away.
Right.
The exit race itself holds 21 cows. It's simple enough, just close the front gate. And you just load it up through the drafter, and we just drop a bar down behind the last cow.
Okay.
That's it.
Excellent. Washing this area then, you're washing this with a hose, is that right?
Yeah, so we'll wash most of it from the top with a hose that's looped above, and then when we come down here, we can wash this area with, we just hung up 3 hoses up along here. I suppose the reason we hung them up was because cows are drafted into these pens.
Yeah.
We wanted to keep all hosing up off the ground so that cows couldn't get their necks caught in it and pull them down. So like, they're just on, it's just a simple design. We made them like a little miniature gate. It's just 2 lengths of pipe with a support, and then the pipe is, our wash line is running in underneath a gutter here.
Yeah.
It's fed up at the back. And so they'll swing out.
Yeah. So you're carrying no hoses, you're dragging no hoses?
No.
A lot of freedom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's safe then for cows as well. You're not trying to loop up hoses and get them out of the way.
Yeah.
Just by pulling them back and throwing them back over the rail here, they're pretty safe again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you have your drains, your slot drains then as well?
Yeah, working very well. I suppose we would have had a slatted channel on our old exit race.
Yeah.
In the old parlour, and we had seen a solid race with a slot channel done in a couple of farms, one in particular in Kilkenny. And I was taken by it because, again, going back to water usage, I kind of felt that if we had gone with a slatted channel, we would have lost 50% of the water into the channel. Or sorry, if we'd gone with a slat, we would have lost 50% of the water into the slat straight away when we go to wash. Whereas with this, when we go to wash it, we've got all the water, and it kind of creates a swirling effect as it's been washed all along.
Okay.
And we can wash it an awful lot quicker than we would a slat.
Yeah. And cows are not afraid of it?
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
And your drafter to finish in the handling area, you have a 2-way or 3-way drafter?
It's a 3-way drafter. It's actually the drafter that was in the old parlour.
Yeah.
And we just transferred it across. So we don't use the third draft. Well, the third draft is basically into the crush. Unless we've only got 1 or 2 cows to draft, we'll generally draft cows out here into this pen.
Okay.
So working very well.
Yeah.
It's all done on transponder tags of the year.
Yeah.
Same transponder tags are being read by the parlour on the way into the parlour, so it's all kind of, it's linked.
Yeah.
And we can draft the cows from the commander pads straight in front of us. As every cow walks on, there's a pad in front, so we can draft from that.
Okay. Very
But
good.
we can also do a pre-draft, we can before milking, we can have it set up that we can draft X number of cows before milking.
Very good.
As well, so.
I'm seeing over here in the corner plenty of big pipes for water.
Yeah. So this is the 63 mil manifold I was talking about.
Yeah.
It comes up. This pipe here is the feed in from that macerator pump.
Right.
And we come into this little manifold here. The 63 mil is a bypass that just goes straight down back to the tank.
Yeah.
These 2 are fed across underground, and they go to the back of the front of the collecting yard.
Yes.
And they're split into 4 jets each, so there's 8 jets at the back.
Yeah.
This one does the 4 middle, and this does the 2 either side of them. So what it does is, I suppose, is, like I said, all the washdown water that's down here,
Yeah.
it finds its way into a channel and into a tank, and we get a second use out of it.
Yes.
So we've already washed the platform with it, and we've washed the standings underneath us. And we get a second use out of it because we pump it back onto the yard to do a bit of washing on the yard before it goes back down.
Or a vet platform, or
Vet
what would you describe it as?
Yeah, so I'll just open it up for you there. So it's a gift for tail painting especially. Even we did a cow pour on there last week or 2 weeks ago. Great for that. I suppose it just it gives us great comfort when we're at the cows if we want to do anything with them.
So what functions would you do here? Tail paint anyway is a big one.
Tail paint mainly.
Yeah.
We're considering doing the scanning on it in a few weeks' time.
Yeah.
Because we have a forward stop reverse control here.
So you can control the platform from there.
We can control the platform
which
from
is very
here.
important safety-wise.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Now you do have a safety rope all the ways around, but the only place you don't have the safety rope is here where the platform is.
Yeah.
So you do need to be able to stop it.
Yeah.
But safety aside, it's very handy for example, your tail painting or your, as I said, maybe scanning. The milker can stay over the other side and the operator here can control what happens.
Yeah, good.
So this is great. And yeah, I mean, you're tail painting cows without them really even knowing it. You're not in their way at all.
Yeah.
And it's safe for yourself as well. So.
You have a lot of control and a lot of power there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's safe.
Yeah.
Why not have a complete block wall here?
So we're going to use, the plan would be safe generally for testing. We'll probably test cows coming off the rotary, but if we want to use the collecting yard for any other bunch of animals, this gate just pops back, and we made a telescopic gate for the crush, so that goes to there. This gate would generally be in this position for cow exit to put them down through the crush, but that directs them down through the crush.
Yeah, you have huge flexibility with the whole thing.
Yeah, so like the plan would be for a herd test as the cows walk off. This gate will generally be in this position anyway.
Yeah.
And the idea for a herd test is that cows are directed down through the crush.
Yeah, very good.
This gate, we wanted to take this corner out of it as well.
Yeah.
So this is a handy little gate actually, because if you're on your own, by closing this gate, it stops the first cow coming in here to the entry and pushing at the gate. So by closing this, it gives you a bit of safety while you're out bringing in the cows.
Right.
So then what we do then to take the angle out, it just doubles up like this.
Yeah.
Locks in there like that.
Tidy. So Tom, I'm looking at a slat here, a single slat. What's the benefit of that, or what function is that doing for you?
So again, that was a bit of an afterthought. So the biggest amount of muck is where the cows are exiting off the rotary.
Yeah.
So rather than washing all of that, or even scraping that into a slot channel, we decided we'd put a very shallow tank there. I mean, it's only about 2 foot deep. So we just have the slat, and there's a 9-inch pipe, which is the pipe in the middle of the slot train. The 9-inch pipe takes everything away from it there.
Right. Yeah. Your floor then, is that adjustable?
Yes. I suppose I'm not the tallest person in the world, and I'm imagining anybody that'll come after me could be a little taller. So if they are, they can adjust down the floor.
Yeah.
Or adjust it up if needs be.
Yeah.
Now we do use it. We use it every milking anyway, because it's generally used more so at the end of milking. I lift it up to this position for washing the cups, because it's a nicer position for washing down on the cups.
And a bit of power maybe as well? Or?
Yeah, well, for putting on the cups, what we do is we drop it down to the last, because you're at a better height putting on the cups, and you're not getting drips of water coming down your elbows. You've more power, as you say, down here, you know.
So overhead, Tom, I'm looking at a mirror. Is it to have a look at yourself the odd time, or
is
there something
check
else?
out my hair, yeah. No, very simply, it's just positioned. It's just for checking tail paint.
Right.
Very simple. It's just an old bathroom mirror put into a tray and just tilted at the angle that we need. And somebody told me that we should treat it like putting on a 5th cup, so that we go 1, 2, 3, 4 and look up every time.
Okay. So what action would you do if you saw paint gone there? What action would you do different? Or what action if you see...
Drafter.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just drafter on the pad. Obviously, if I'm wondering, am I seeing paint gone off or not, just in case I hop up and look.
Yeah.
But generally what we'll do is we'll just draft them automatically and we'll have a look at them in the pen at the end anyway.
Right.
So that's handy from that point of view.
Yeah. Yeah. So your milk tank, you went for an outdoor silo?
Yeah, it's
what size is it?
26 or 26.5 litre.
Yeah.
I suppose when we were looking at the project, we were going to use our old dairy and try and link into that and use the old milk tank. But I suppose the longer we got into it, then the old milk tank wasn't big enough anyway, and we would have needed to change it in a few years. Given the location of the building, we didn't want to build a dairy out the side here because it would have kind of constricted the flow of traffic in and out here.
Yeah.
So we just went with a silo, and it's just working real well, you know.
Yeah. Direct expansion?
Yeah, and it's on 3 compressors.
Right.
1 on the floor and 2 on the sides. And quick cooling, quick washing. So yeah, it's working well.
And you went for a railing around it?
Yeah, so safety.
Yeah.
More so safety for the tank than anything else.
Yeah, protect it.
Yeah, so
no accidents.
we were doing this apron of concrete here, and we decided we'd put a rail around the tank, and again the same around the meal bin above.
Yeah. What happens if a cow kicks off the cups early?
So if she kicks off the cups early, there's parameters set in the computer. At the moment it's set at about 45%. So she has a yield 45% or more that she's less than her average yield. She comes back around to us.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't get many cows coming back around that would have kicked off. If anything, we find cows are quieter in this parlour than they would have been in the old parlour.
Okay.
We just use a kicking bar on 1 cow right at the very end. So in general, they're an awful lot happier in this. Yeah.
So how many weeks AI?
Pardon?
How many weeks AI?
We did 8 weeks AI, 7.5 weeks AI, 5.5 weeks stock bulls,
Okay.
Angus stock bulls.
Yeah.
We're hoping that things have gone well. We scanned the heifers 2 weeks ago, and there was 83 heifers. This was on week 10. We'd 83 heifers, and there was 79 in calf at that stage. So.
Okay.
Biggest worry with the rotary was that you kind of lose contact with the cows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That, or not lose contact, but that you wouldn't see cows as much as you were in a herringbone. But I just find, if anything, you're nearly more focused on each cow
Because you have to.
Because you have to, and because as well as that, I'll just stop it. Because as well as that, she's presented straight in front of you, and you're assessing her as she comes to you. You know.
Yeah.
Whereas in the herringbone, say in the old parlour, 20 cows there in front of you. You're bringing them in first. You may be stripping them out. And you've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Whereas with the rotary, you're dealing with her straight away, and that's it. I know you don't see her again, but you kind of have a clear idea of what she's doing just by looking at her.